What is going on, guys? This is Versus All Gaming with my review of Magi the Kingdom of Magic episode 10, and I am so glad that I can review this anime for you all because it gives me a chance to talk about an fantastic episode like this. You cannot deny that this episode, it was pretty amazing. It was a masterpiece of an episode, at least to me. I definitely liked it, and it was possibly my favorite episode of the season so far, just because Alibaba is my second favorite character, with Sinbad being the first, of course, but we just got so much character development for him in this one. So of course we all know that he had to fight this gigantic beast known as Garda. And he actually, starts off like pretty well because we see that he dodged his attack for the most part. And he also used his royal swordplay style, even though he was not used to the sword that he had, because he couldn't use a mon sword. He had to use, like a regular old sword. So he was at a disadvantage, but he was making it work because we can see that he was actually able to cut the beast, even though they were too shallow. He could at least damage it. And normally after Garda, first attack, many people that came into the Colosseum, they actually, were defeated by that. But you could kind of see that like Alibaba was kind of getting too ahead of himself when he was saying that he was prepared, because we have the boss here who was saying, if he was like really prepared to come into something like this, and clearly he wasn't, because we all saw what happened to him. Because even though he was cutting the beast with his too shallow cuts, at one point the beast actually used its hard muscles to trap the sword inside of him, and that right there was pretty smart. So even though this thing is an animal, it actually has some brains, because he used his muscles to keep a sword inside of him. And I thought at first, Alibaba would let go of the sword, because it would make sense if he can't pull it out, because clearly this beast was not going to let his muscles, uncontract them anytime soon. So it would have been best, to let the sword go and just run away till you could pull it out. But that's when the fight kind of started going downhill, because we see this beast take hold of him and start swinging him around, slamming him into the ground like he's a freaking rag doll. And you can just see his body is so beat up. And then when he wanted to give up because he couldn't fight anymore, nobody was stopping the fight. And then these people in the Colosseum that were once cheering for him, wanting him to win this fight because they were so impressed, they quickly turned on him like it was nothing. Because in the subtitles, you just see at first they were saying him. We didn't know to what they were saying to Alibaba realized it, and they were actually they were telling Garda to eat him. And do you know how messed up that is? Like, these people here are just so, like, you can't say they are evil, but they are definitely messed up because of that. And even the guard that were like on standby when Alibaba wanted him to call off the match, he didn't do anything. He just looked away. And that right there was like really hard to see, because he actually wanted to stop fighting, but he couldn't. And then Garda, he actually wouldn't let up, and hit the next attack. It was just so messed up. And I'm surprised that the animation were actually so well, because normally I thought that they would like shy away from these kind of scenes. But I actually liked it. I actually liked that they didn't, and they actually showed everything, because you could just see Garda's teeth like sinking so deep into his arm, and we have all the blood coming out. And to make things worse, he broke his arm. And Alibaba, he was so passed out, and just like the guy said, he saw his life fly before his eyes, because we just see all these people that were like important to him, and they were just like disappearing and like fading into the background. And when he finally came to, we saw his arm broken. And I'm not gonna lie, that right there did make me kind of like cringe a little bit, because I was just so surprised that we like saw it so well animated. But I did like that they did not hold any punches with this episode, and we saw everything. So that right there is definitely a major plus in my book. So now we have this flashback going on of Alibaba and Kasim when they were kids, and we have like these thugs that were coming in there, and they were like trying to take over their area or their territory, and so they were actually gonna kill these kids. Like, do you know how horrible you have to be to actually hurt a child, much less kill them? And so now Kasim and Alibaba, they had worked together, to to fight these guys off, and they were a pretty good tag team. Like, you can't lie, when those two work together, they are definitely impressive, especially for kids. So we have it in one moment where Alibaba is like thinking to himself, and in this flashback where he says, when him and Kasim are together, they're like this invisible tag team, and then they high five each other, and that right there kind of like resonated with his Magi, and the two inside of him, finally merge into one. So it's kind of like Kasim fused and Alibaba. So now it's kind of like one person, but at the same time they're not, because clearly Kasim is dead. But luckily he is still living inside Alibaba. And he would say, back then they didn't have any sword style or like any skills. They had their street smarts, and he had to use that now. So he kind of went back to his old days when he went up like playing exactly fair, but like rather dirty. And you just see that his plan definitely worked, because at one point he had Garda cracked into the statue, and then he grabbed this like broken spear from it and made him bite down on it. And the way they were going through his chin, through his tongue, and through like his mouth, God, that could only be painful. I don't even want to imagine it happening to me or something, because that right there looked painful. So I know Garda, he was definitely feeling that. And he also used the wall for support, as when Garda punched him, he had his sword go through his hand rather than like breaking off. So not only does like Alibaba have some impressive sword skills, he's also very smart when it comes to like a dirty kind of style of fighting. So I would like love to see those two styles work more together, because that right there would be pretty cool to see. Sorry about that, guys. I had a phone call which you all probably heard. Now I'm trying to think back to where I left off at, but I think I was talking about how well Kasim and Alibaba work so well together, because we see once the Magi inside of him fuse together, it was just a completely different fight. And we even have the what's his name, the boss guy. He was saying that the fight was already decided, because Alibaba should use like his street smarts to win, just like when he used the wall for support. And that right there was the beginning of the end. And I definitely like how Toto was definitely someone into the fight, because even though her and Alibaba didn't get along, in the previous episode, she definitely seems to like care about him, or at least is interested in him now. So after the beast, went on a rampage, because it was so angry that it took all this damage, Alibaba could read all of his movements, and that right there gave him a chance to win the battle, because we just see that he making all the cuts on Garda. And even though they were shallow, too shallow, they definitely took effect after a while, because we see at the end he had all these cuts and all the blood coming from him that he passed out. And so surprisingly Alibaba won. I'm pretty sure people there in the Coliseum definitely did not think that would happen. But we have these two spectators that could possibly be very important to the story, because why would they show them if they aren't? But you can see that they have red hair, and they also have one like similar armor to that guy that we see with that Magi, that is also watching Alibaba fight. And so this guy name is Mu, and he's a finalist. And so it's definitely safe to assume that the other two that we see are also finalists. So we now have 4 finalists we have those three and Morgiana. So I would definitely love to see more, of their race, because these characters are just so freaking awesome. And of course, you cannot forget the one that with Sinbad. So we definitely know that there are like finalists in the series, but we just need to know where they're at. And hopefully with like Morgiana, we can see more of them, because of course she's going home. But that lady, or the Magi, because I have no idea how to say her name, because it's so freaking long, and I don't really want to like butcher it. But she was saying that she has sense of disturbance, and I'm pretty sure it's because of Alibaba's two Magi always colliding with each other rather than working together. But now that they have fused, that disturbance should have gone by. Because the only reason why I think that she sensed it, it was because that he is a king vessel user, and so he is chosen by Aladdin. So of course the Ryuk will favor him as well. So maybe that's why she had picked up on it. But we have this guy, Alexius. And he was talking about all these magic tools, and he was talking about that country, Magnoshot. I still have no idea how to like say that name, but it's possible that that Liam and Magnoshot could butt heads, because clearly things are definitely not good in that place from all these rumors that they're hearing, which is why Aladdin did in the first place. But now that Alibaba, has won the battle, we have the boss guy coming in there, and he sensed right away when the Magi fuse. And I love the way that they have shown the fusing in the anime as well. I don't think I mentioned it earlier. But once he won, we have Toto, that was coming in there, I'm guessing to like help him clean the wound or something, because she had like this bucket of water and a rag. And you just see Garda standing over Alibaba, and Alibaba, even though he actually got so much money for winning this fight, not only did he like pay for the treatment, but he also bought Garda, so he'll be free. And that right there was like definitely nice of him. And it was pretty cool to see that he was like kind of like taking on Chasm a little bit, where he tried to smoke, because they actually showed that. They show like a shadow of a chasm. But of course, him looking cool like that didn't last for long, as he actually set his hair on fire. And of course, that right there definitely made me laugh. But once the leader came in there and was treating him, he was asking him about when he realized when he first got these new powers or whatever. Alibaba said that he got this power to protect what's important. And even though he's in Liam to become a gladiator, he thinking about thinking about something on a much bigger scale, because he actually plans on taking back Baghdad, his home country that he sadly had to turn over to the Co-Empire. And speaking of the Co-Empire, Mu also mentioned that as well. But this episode, like I said before, this episode, it was a freaking masterpiece. I definitely loved it, and pretty much that's it. I really did. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this review. Please do not forget to like the video and also subscribe, because that really helps me out. But as always, guys, you all take it easy, and I'll see you all next time.